of being a great goalie. Clearing the ball is our next component, right? Because after you save the ball, rather than give the ball back to the opposing team, you want to be able to advance the ball from your side of the field to the offensive side of the field, so the team has an opportunity, your team has an opportunity to score a goal. There are many different ways to teach the position of goal as it relates to saving the ball, because everybody is built differently. Drew's tall and skinny and athletic, I'm short and fat. So I don't have the same abilities that he has, but but there's one concrete way to teach you how to throw with a goalie stick. It's ugly. It's awkward. I used to hate having all my friends in grade school walk around with their cool little sticks, and I used to come to the cafeteria with this piece of crap. Okay? It's like a 57 Chevy automobile. It's ugly. It doesn't fit in your locker. It's a pain in the butt when you're trying to put it into your equipment bag. It's a fishing net meets a frying pan meets a shovel. Okay? It doesn't strike anybody like it should be a really easy thing to manipulate. Okay? But I've found that there are certain things that I can teach you that will help enable you to be a better and more accurate clearing goalie. Okay? Now, everyone can stand up. I have your stick, but I'll teach you. Okay. And I'm going to go and talk about how to target players, but before I do that, I want to teach you how to actually throw the ball. Who watches baseball? Anybody? Right? Okay, do you watch a pitcher? What does a pitcher do with the ball when he sets up his throwing motion? Can anyone demonstrate? Come on over. Greenwich, Brunswick. What is that? Greenwich, Brunswick? Oh. Okay, come here right now. You're a baseball player. Okay, what do you do when you throw a baseball? Tell me what you do. Go ahead, show it. Okay, keep going. It's got the Hopkins shorts. Perfect. Okay, now, is that any different from throwing a lacrosse ball? Not really. Okay, what do I do? Besides lifting my leg up, which was a weird pitching style he actually has, I don't do that. But what I do is as follows. I take a look at the field. Okay, we're going to talk about how to target guys. Drew's going to talk about that after I teach you the fundamental of actually throwing the ball. Is the first thing that I do is I identify the target, right? And then what I do is as follows. I get this big clunky piece of crap as far back away from my body as possible. So just like a baseball pitcher, what does he do after he brings the ball out of his mitt, right? He brings it back here, doesn't he? So I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to bring it back and I'm going to turn my hips and my shoulders and I want to point my left shoulder to the target, okay? So I'm taking my hands back. Everybody do it. Take your hands back behind your body. Yeah, back up, guys. Everybody here's this me. Alright? My left shoulder's pointing at the target. Okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to get my hands all the way back. I'm going to keep it almost perpendicular to the ground. Alright? Keep it almost perpendicular to the ground. Just like this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a big step towards my target. Right? Because I'm going to take my hands out of the throw. I'm going to take my body, I'm going to make my body do all the work. So I'm going to target with my left foot, okay? And in one motion, come over the top and turn my hips and my shoulders toward the target. So I'm basically going to do this. I'm going to do it in slow motion. Whoop. And what I'm going to do is, I'm never going to lift my back right leg off the ground like a baseball pitcher. I'm going to keep that grounded, okay? Because I don't want my weight coming off my back foot and going into my front foot. So I'm just going to throw the ball, and I'm going to take my hands back, I'm going to come over the top, and I'm going to follow through, and I'm going to drag my back right leg. I'm not going to pop my back right leg off. I see young boys do that all the time. What happens? All the weight goes to their forward, and they throw the ball straight in the ground. Now, I've never thrown with this stick before, okay? But no matter how awkward the stick is, I feel that if I do the same throwing motion, I'll be able to throw with it. So I'm just going to throw it like this. What I'd like for you to do is just take a step back, hands all the way back, as far away from your body as possible. Bring your hip back to allow that to happen. It's a big step with your opposite foot. So if I'm a righty, I'm stepping with my left foot towards the target. So if Uncle Robbie is the target, I'm taking my left foot, targeting Rob, and and then I'm letting my hips come through, okay? So that's what you want to do. Remember that. Practice on a brick wall. Remember your target. Always do the same thing. So it's repetition. It'll happen in a practice, and it'll happen in a game if you do it on your own. This is the one part, listen up real serious now. This is the one part of the position, okay, that you don't need anybody else for, okay? This is the one part of the position that you do not need somebody to shoot on you, a defense to communicate to. There's no excuse for a goalie to be a poor clearing goalie, because you have unlimited time to practice it. Unlimited.
After you do your homework. When I was walking around, I noticed some of you guys had your hands a little bit too high up on the shaft, right? You want to have them, you want to have this top hand, you know, pretty close to your bottom hand here. If it's all the way up here, you can't get as much leverage to throw, all right? Everyone wants to be able to throw the ball pretty far, right? So you want to have your hands down in an area where when you come over, it allows you to have that mobility to throw the ball a little bit further and a little bit more comfortably, all right? So the next time you guys down the wall or having a catch with a friend, you know, keep that in mind, all right? All right, so the next thing is, after you make the save, all right, now that you know how to throw it, now you have to know where to throw it to, right? You guys all know the term clear. You're supposed to yell clear after you make the save, all right? So as soon as I make the save, all right, guys, the first person that I look to throw the ball to on my team is the guy who was covering the person that the ball got shot to, if it was coming from a midfielder, all right? So everyone knows the position. Can you repeat that? All right, so guys, the first person that I look to throw the ball to, if it's coming from up top, all right, if it's not a guy close in, is the midfielder that the person took the shot, whoever they were covering, all right? So can you guys stand up for me for a second? So Carolina, you're shooting, all right? And you're playing defense, okay? So if Carolina comes down, makes a great move, takes a shot at me, I make the save, the first thing he should do is break out, all right? And my first look as a goalie is to throw the ball to him, all right? Because you want to get your team upfield as fast as you can, get the ball, you know, out of the defensive end into the offensive end, all right? You guys understand that? All right. So if that pass isn't available, all right, if they cover that, if he does a good job, gets back, plays good defense, the next thing I do is I survey the field, all right? So if that initial look isn't there, I then look to the other players on my team that are supposed to come back and help, all right? In a normal clear, a lot of the times you'll have a defenseman down to either your left or right-hand side, all right? So the defensemen are supposed to break out and look over their shoulders for the ball. And that's why it's important when you make a save to yell clear, because what that does, that allows your team to know that you have it and you're looking for them to break out. All right? So I'll make the save, I'll look upfield. If it's not there, I'll look to both my defensemen on either side. If they're not there, the next thing I like to do is circle behind the goal, all right? So who can tell me how many seconds you have in the crease once you have the ball in your stick to get out of the crease? How long? A little longer than that. Little. There you go, 4 seconds, right in between.
Yep, and remember, those 4 seconds aren't 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. The ref is going off a very slow and deliberate count. He wants to protect the goalie. The referee, the game is set up so the goalie makes a save, he is then protected. Matt?
All girls have 10 seconds.
Oh.
How many?
10 seconds. Girls have 10.
Oh, wow.
Girls have 10.
Well, that's
We knew that. We knew that.
We need to time.
It's a secondary game here.
We wanted to make sure you were paying attention now. You passed.
So guys, the point with the time that you're allowed with the ball in the crease, whether it be 4 or 10, is take your time, all right? Don't be in a rush to get rid of the ball. If the open player on your team isn't there, don't feel like you have to run out, and throw it to him. If it's not open, take your time, survey the field. If it's not there, I think your best bet is to roll behind the goal, all right? And what that allows is, a little bit more time for your guys to spread out. It also draws that, opposing player who's going to be after you. It can kind of catch them up in the middle. So if I'm an attacker and I'm going to get after you behind the goal, if he comes this way, I would just mimic him and go the other way. You can you run around in circles, until someone gets over you.
How many players can the how many players can one team have on the offensive side at one particular time? Yes, 6. Okay, so how many players can the defensive side have at any particular time? Okay, so who's the 7th guy or girl? The goalie. So you should never feel pressured that you can't make an intelligent decision because you outnumber them. The only time that you will not outnumber them is if you are in a penalty situation and you're man down. At that point, then you got to be creative. But for the other 90% of the game, if you have the ball, know in your head that you have a man-up situation against the opposing team because you are the extra player out there. You become the most valuable player on the field when it comes to clearing because no one typically accounts for the goal. So you have 2 options. You could be fearful and not embrace that and try and get rid of the ball as quick as possible and let somebody else deal with it. Or you can embrace the process and you can be a commanding leader like a quarterback marching up and down the field. Okay? For me, I always felt that clearing was one of my stronger points. I love to have the ball on my stick. So I knew that if the ball was on our side of the field, we were clearing it every single time, unless for some silly reason. But I never felt that we would ever be overmatched clearing the ball because I felt that no one was guarding me. And if I made someone guard me, what happened? Somebody else is open. It's kind of easy, right? So it's important to keep your head up and understand that you're the extra person on your side of the field. Yes?
Do I have to worry about being checked when I have the ball?
Yeah, I mean, look, you are a player out. Once you leave the crease, you are absolutely subject to the rules of the game. Okay? So if an attackman's going to come down to you, and they typically like to do this, they're going to take a real strong whack at your elbow just because they're upset to save their shot 10 times, the last 10 times they shot.
But when you are in the crease, guys, for that 4 or 10 seconds, as long as the ball, as long as you're not have a foot outside the crease or anything like that, you are supposed to be protected in there, all right? So that is, the brief time it is, you should be able to, gain control of the ball and have a little bit of time before you have to step out. But, as Coach said, as soon as you do step out, you have to be prepared, just to be another player on the field. And, I think clearing the ball is one of the most, it kind of gets unnoticed in a game. But if you look at the stats, a win and a loss for a team, the team that clears the ball better a lot of times is the team that wins. And it's not something that you'll see on like a top play or anything like that, but it's one of those little things that really makes a big difference.
That's where the ball's going on in front of
Here, do you want here?
Yeah. Guys, so do you guys know what a clamp is? Have you heard the term before? All right, so just to go over it, a clamp is when the ball is loose, anywhere in front of the goal. A lot of the times too, your defenseman will pick it up, go slam it down for you, put it in the crease so you can get it. So what I do on a clamp, and this is really important, whether it's outside of the crease, say, this yellow line is my crease, just as an example, and the ball's here. What I'll do is I'll clamp down, and I'll clamp down with the back end of my stick, all right? I don't clamp down this way, I clamp with the back end of my stick. My hand is in a position, whether it be up by the throat or a little further back where I can get a lot of weight under there. And if an attacker tried to come by with the stick and lift my stick up, it wouldn't happen, all right? You kind of leverage your weight, you put the majority of your weight on your front foot, all right? So the clamp is, I put it here, I drag it back into my crease, all right? And it's important, like we talked about earlier with the step, is when I drag the ball back, make sure your body's behind the ball, all right? I've seen goalies before go to clamp it, and they shoot it in their own net, all right? And that's the last thing you want to do. So make sure you have it under control. All right, you have it clamped, you bring it back with your body behind it, you get in a good spot, and you're able to, pick it up and then survey the field and begin the clear.
Hey, Coach, once you have that clamp down, though, is it your ball until it's behind the line?
No,
it's not your ball.
It's not your ball, guys. Yeah, that's a good question. So if I have my clamp down, and you're an attackman and you want that ball just as much as I do. So it's as long as it's outside of your crease, the attacker has every right to try to get it up. As soon as you bring it inside, that's when it's supposed to be yours, and that's when